Every smartphone, every laptop, every server, every satellite, every modern AI system. They all depend on a tiny device most people never think about, the transistor. It may be the most important invention of the modern age. And yet, one of Silicon Valley's most enduring myths gets the story wrong. The transistor was not invented in Silicon Valley. It was invented nearly 3,000 miles away in New Jersey. In 1947, at Bell Labs, John Bardeen and Walter Brattain successfully demonstrated the first point-contact transistor under the direction of William Shockley. It was a scientific breakthrough, but it didn't stay on the East Coast for long. Shockley moved back to California to start his own company. He brought the knowledge, but his management style drove his best talent away. 8 of his top engineers, known as the Traitorous Eight, left to form Fairchild Semiconductor. This was the spark. Silicon Valley became the center of the digital revolution because it created an environment where talent, innovation, and capital could compound. Inventing something and changing the world with it are not always the same thing. The transistor wasn't invented here, but it changed the world here. Every smartphone, every laptop, every server, every satellite, every modern AI system. They all depend on a tiny device most people never think about. The transistor. It may be the most important invention of the modern age. And yet one of Silicon Valley's most enduring myths gets the story wrong. The transistor was not invented in Silicon Valley. It was invented nearly 3,000 miles away in New Jersey. So why did Silicon Valley become the center of the digital revolution? Because history teaches us an important lesson. Inventing something and changing the world with it are not always the same thing. The birth of a breakthrough. The story begins in 1947. Not in California, not in Palo Alto, not in Silicon Valley. It begins at Bell Laboratories in New Jersey, one of the greatest research institutions ever assembled. There, 3 scientists achieved a breakthrough that would alter human civilization. John Bardeen, Walter Brattain, William Shockley. Together, they demonstrated the first working transistor. At first glance, the achievement appeared highly technical, almost obscure, but the implications were profound. The transistor could perform many of the functions previously handled by vacuum tubes. And it could do so more efficiently, more reliably, and on a dramatically smaller scale. Electronics no longer needed to be massive, fragile, energy-hungry. For the first time, a pathway existed toward smaller and more powerful computing systems. The digital age had received its foundation. Imagine a world without transistors. No smartphones, no laptops, no internet, no cloud computing, no artificial intelligence. Modern civilization is built upon billions, and now trillions, of transistors operating simultaneously. Every digital technology traces part of its lineage back to that 1947 breakthrough. But there was a problem. An invention inside a laboratory is not the same as an industry. A breakthrough on paper does not automatically change the world. The transistor had been born. Now it needed a place to grow. One of the inventors understood the technology better than almost anyone alive. William Shockley. In 1956, Shockley returned to California and founded Shockley Semiconductor Laboratory. At first, this seemed like the beginning of something extraordinary. One of the world's leading experts on transistor technology had arrived in the Santa Clara Valley. But history rarely unfolds as expected. Shockley was brilliant. Yet brilliance and leadership are not always the same skill. His management style frustrated many of his employees. Trust eroded. Tensions increased. Talented engineers began questioning their future. And then came one of the most consequential acts of rebellion in business history. In 1957, 8 employees left Shockley's company. The decision shocked the industry. Many viewed it as betrayal. The group would later become known as the Traitorous Eight. At the time, nobody knew they were about to launch one of the most influential companies in technology history. Fairchild Semiconductor. This is where the story shifts. Because Fairchild didn't merely build transistors. It built an ecosystem. Engineers learned, experimented, founded new companies, shared knowledge, developed new manufacturing processes, advanced semiconductor technology at extraordinary speed. And most importantly, they stayed in the region. The talent didn't disperse. It concentrated. From invention to industry. Historians often divide innovation into stages. First comes invention. Then comes commercialization. Then comes global adoption. Bell Labs excelled at invention. Silicon Valley excelled at commercialization. Fairchild advanced manufacturing, developed new semiconductor processes, trained future founders, and spawned dozens of spin-off companies. The innovation began compounding. Every successful company trained future entrepreneurs. Every breakthrough generated new opportunities. Every engineer carried knowledge into the next venture. The result was a dense concentration of talent unlike anything the industry had seen. By the 1960s and 1970s, Silicon Valley contained a growing network of engineers, suppliers, universities, investors, semiconductor firms. Innovation accelerated because everyone was close to everyone else. The ecosystem became the advantage. The difference between discovery and impact. One of the most important lessons in innovation history is often overlooked. The first person to invent something is not always the person who changes the world with it. History remembers the Wright brothers for flight, but aviation became an industry through thousands of additional innovations. The same was true for the transistor. Bell Labs created the breakthrough. Silicon Valley helped transform it into an economic engine. The region's strength wasn't simply generating ideas. It was scaling them, improving them, commercializing them, and repeatedly creating new companies around them. That pattern would eventually power semiconductors, computers, software, the internet, smartphones, and artificial intelligence. Throughout Bay Origins, we've explored a recurring theme. The Bay Area often excelled at turning opportunity into ecosystems. The gold rush transformed mineral wealth into an economy. Wells Fargo transformed commerce into infrastructure. Stanford transformed education into a talent engine. Hewlett-Packard transformed engineering into entrepreneurship. Now we encounter perhaps the most important example of all. The transistor arrived as an invention. Silicon Valley transformed it into an industry. And once that industry emerged, everything changed. Because semiconductors became the foundation upon which the modern world would be built. Which brings us back to the question at the heart of Bay Origins. Why did it happen here? Perhaps because the Bay Area developed a rare ability, not merely discovering breakthroughs, but creating environments where breakthroughs could grow. The innovator's ledger. Lesson 1. Invention and commercialization are different skills. Creating a breakthrough is difficult. Scaling a breakthrough is equally difficult. Many innovations fail because organizations focus on one and neglect the other. Lesson 2. Talent clusters create momentum. The semiconductor industry accelerated because engineers concentrated in one region. Talent attracts talent. Knowledge attracts knowledge. Innovation compounds when people work near one another. Lesson 3. Ecosystems outperform individuals. Shockley was brilliant, but Fairchild's ecosystem ultimately proved more influential. The lesson: long-term impact often comes from creating environments where others can succeed. The transistor became transformative only after an ecosystem emerged to improve, manufacture, and scale it. Are you focused on creating a breakthrough or building the environment that allows breakthroughs to flourish? The transistor was born in New Jersey, but in many ways, it came of age in Silicon Valley. Because invention started the story, commercialization changed the world. And once again, the Bay Area revealed its greatest strength, not merely creating ideas, but turning them into industries. This is Bay Origins, birthplace of the future.